Optimism Vaccine. I'm Steve, and Adam Myros, what's your favorite Offspring song?
I don't know. Probably Come Out and Play. That seems fine, right? It was like
That's
before they were obnoxious.
Yeah. I guess you could choose something off of Smash, but the true correct answer is just no. Jack, how about
that's
you?
fair.
I'm a big Pay the Man fan. Closer of Americana. Their venture, their psychedelic.
Mr. fucking deep
Yeah, their
cuts over here.
psychedelic journey into prog rock by making an 8-minute song that has kind of a riff in it and some they have like a zitar or something playing there in the middle. It's heavy shit, really life changing at the time.
I mean, you could always go with their cover of "I Wanna Be Sedated."
Let's not go with that. I think is the option.
I don't know. I mean, I always feel like the Offspring is at their best when they're not playing their own music, you know, kind of deferring to someone else to actually craft the song.
I think
but
it kind of it holds true. I feel in this. Well, obviously, you'll figure out soon enough why this is relevant, but. The man's voice is infinitely less annoying when he's singing "I Want to Be Sedated" than it is when he's singing a standard Offspring song.
Yeah, and credit to is it Dexter? What is his name?
Dexter Holland? The man
Holland,
in the Offspring. There's 3 other men in the Offspring, but there's just Dexter Holland.
One of them is named Noodles.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, Noodles is the guitar player who's looked like he was like 65 years old since like 1992.
He does look older than the rest of
Dexter
them.
Holland. No,
I know he was part of this recent Bud Light fiasco where he responded to the right wing by declaring that he and all of his friends would exclusively drink Bud Light on tour for the rest of their days. Or something.
Why would you commit to that?
I have no idea.
That's insane.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, solidarity, Mr. Noodles, but you don't have to drink that much Bud Light, dude.
I feel like I can support trans rights, which are, you know, human rights, as they say, without drinking bad beer. I don't need to do both those things.
I don't think so, Jack. Yeah. That's not the way of the world.
This is what capitalism has served me up. God damn.
It is a nice reminder that you can be a trans ally, but also write really shitty music too. You know, those things they can go hand in hand. Yeah. Anyways, let's not talk about the Offspring anymore because God, why would you want to? It is amazing though. Like Dexter Holland, he sings with such confidence and gravitas, you know, which is incredible because he has one of the worst voices in the last like 40 years of rock music.
I think we should.
It's like nasally and forceful.
We should keep the movie that actually ties all this together till last and just like switch in and just not explain any of this for as long as we can.
Well, you know, Jack, I've got to hand it to you because that's exactly what we're doing because wouldn't you know, we watched I don't what the fuck is going on? Are these house movies? They all have
This is Adam. This is Adam's project. These are all movies Adam loves and would stand up for at any time. Adam would die for these movies.
He would die for this shit.
I mean,
ride or die,
this
right?
was my pitch, but keep in mind, I have not seen any of these 3 movies until this week, so I don't know if I can declare my
You never saw Idle Hands until this week. What the fuck? We could have told you it's not that good.
I wasn't some fucking sicko like you, Jack. I wasn't.
Oh, sorry. Did you not think Jessica Alba was hot in 1999, Adam? That was beneath you.
Yeah.
I mean. I don't really care about Jessica Alba, and there's most actresses you see in most movies are pretty hot, Jack. That's the way things go.
Well, in case you didn't figure it out yet, we are talking about. I think the unifying theme here is hands that kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow we
it as limbs.
Yeah, but
kill.
somehow we never did like Encounters of the Spooky kind of Sammo Hung movies that's actually fun. No, we just did 3 movies that aren't that much fun about limbs that kill. So well done us, fucking big pat on the back there.
The first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the Oliver Stone movie, the Hand, and I have to say probably the best Oliver Stone movie. It's a shame he never made a good one after that, huh?
Jesus,
it's certainly more subdued than most. We'll say.
Yeah, this one doesn't feel like it was.
Which is
this
amazing.
one doesn't feel like it was just directed by a human-shaped lump of cocaine. So that is something for his '80s output.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm pretty loud and proud not an Oliver Stone fan, but yeah, this one is actually, it's fucking fun because I think Oliver Stone is kind of a goof, but later in his career, he was a goof who felt very important about, it's a lot of self-importance. And here he's like, I've got the skills, but I'm just going to lay into being a goof and it's no big deal. And that's what I like because it's 100% sincere as a movie, but it's also about like super fucking coked out Michael Caine who looks like homeless Gene Wilder, and he's murdering or maybe not murdering people because his fucking hand got torn off by a semi truck. And honestly, it's pretty great. And I think the best thing about it is I guess I never thought of Oliver Stone as, someone who was into 1950s horror and sci-fi. But then you watch The Hand, and particularly the scenes where the titular hand is killing people, and it's a real like throwback. It goes black and white and everything. But the way he shoots it and the use of light and shadow and just kind of the goofball approach to everything, it's fucking perfect, man. Now, is this truly a great movie? No, come on now. But I think a lot of people shit on this one, and I don't know why. It's pretty fucking compelling, I gotta say.
I think it's because those people like Oliver Stone, and this is again just not an Oliver Stone.
Yeah, I think there's also an issue that this is within the recognized Michael Caine has admitted he did it for a paycheck canon, like alongside Jaws 4 and Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. The Hand is also like Michael Caine has been. Not just that he said he did this for money, he is very specific that he did this for a down payment on a garage. Like, he has these specific receipts on hand for why he made The Hand. And you gotta admire it, but it does mean a lot of people come to like, oh, it's just the movie he did to pay for a garage. But, I think that The Hand really falls into, particularly again as you talk about like, the onslaught of digital photography and the kind of like the current mores of cinema today. Like The Hand, it's a real movie. It looks like a real movie, and there's so many movies nowadays that are like real movies, and they're supposed to be important. I'm supposed to care about them, and they just look like fucking shit. And The Hand it's for all its weaknesses, it looks like a movie. It's pretty cool.
No, it's a handsome little guy, and even the sets are great. I love the rustic cabin that Michael Caine ends up in California. It's fucking great. And really, I'm going to continue to shit on Oliver Stone here, but there's two types of cinephiles out there. Either you're down with The Hand, or you like to give your buds handies while you watch W. So choose what fucking camp you're in.
I feel like I'm in Hand. I feel like I'm having this thing because like I haven't seen Platoon in years, and I feel like Platoon is probably like the linchpin Oliver Stone. Like, I don't know if that's a good movie or not. I really haven't seen it in like literally over 20 years. He definitely went off on some misadventures in the 90s, but Scarface is interesting. I mean, he only wrote that, he didn't direct it, and the whole movie is like it's a lot. But it's kind of fun. It kind of works. It's kind of captures the vibe of 80s economic policy and international politics, which is basically just murderous cocaine. I think that was driving a lot more than people maybe even realized at the time. So yeah, but The Hand comes in a little bit before that. This is this Stone's like only second or third film as a director? I think this is even
it's his second feature.
Yeah. And it's kind of like he's like, he became known. Obviously, Platoon was the breakout, and it was because Stone was a Vietnam veteran. But this one is much more just kind of like he's just a work-a-day director trying to make kind of elevate material, and the material is suspect at best in this film, to be honest. But he does a pretty good job. I think he warms it up nicely.
Yeah, and honestly, this is. I'd like to see the film that he made before this, which I don't even know if it's readily available.
Literally just this week, they have discovered the original camera negative for it. I don't recall the name, but it's like Frenzy.
It's called Seizure.
Yeah, so literally just this week, a boutique label, I don't remember which one, have said they have discovered the original camera negative for Seizure. So I'm guessing a restoration is
we'll
coming.
See it eventually.
Super cool. I mean, that's great news, even if you hate Oliver Stone. Any time they discover original camera negative is cool. But yeah, it's kind of weird because you don't think of Oliver Stone as like a horror movie director, but that's actually where you got to start. Because Seizure is a horror movie, and The Hand is kind of that too. I mean, it's a disembodied, murderous hand chasing a cartoonist across the nation, which is not necessarily a breakdown anyone was really anticipating, but that's what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I'm not as hard on old Oliver as Steve is, for sure. I think, I mean, certainly 9/11 fully broke his brain, and not worth seeking anything out after that. But I don't know. He's not like, he's a maximalist. He's in the Tony Scott school of filmmakers too, and that I can get behind that on occasion. I think it makes for a very checkered filmography, depending on what material he's tackling. But this is almost unrecognizable. I was expecting something like, if you look at early De Palma, he's like going harder when he's younger than he was at any point. You know, it's just like camera tricks, all sorts of editing madness. And that's kind of what I expected with this, but really it's incredibly reserved.
There is some interesting stuff in this. I'm not sure what exactly he's doing. Like, there's a few points in the transfer where it gets like, and I wasn't able to nail down what he's doing, but yeah, it switches to black and white in a few places. In a few places, it does like this like flashing effect, like this white flash in the image, and then it gets really grainy, but it doesn't look like it's slowing down or anything. Like, I'm genuinely not sure. There's some kind of application to the film, but I don't know what it's doing, because it still looks kind of normal, but the grain of the film becomes much more pronounced. Really, I'm kind of curious what it is. It's kind of an interesting thing, but it's not like a very obvious, recognized camera effect. I'm not sure if he's just playing around manipulating with some element of the camera film, you know, to like, I don't know. But it's there. It's a very notable visual affect to the film, but I don't know exactly what it's doing or what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, sure. And the frame flash is obviously something he's carried forward. It's like super prevalent in like Natural Born Killers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sure. And I don't know. I like the more subdued Oliver Stone, because obviously 80s, Oliver's working through Vietnam. That's fine. And 90s, that's where he really starts to lose it. Well, once 9/11 happens, he completely loses his shit. But he's just like, basically for, 20 straight years, he has this slow evolution of turning into, what if your coke dealer just was zooted off his ass 24/7 and just hitting refresh on like the Politico homepage.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like a large part of Oliver Stone's career is literally he's kind of like your older cousin who smokes a lot of weed and tells you like verified facts that no one else is aware of. That's a very strong vibe to Oliver Stone cinema. It's like, man, they're all lizards, right? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And like it seems trustworthy at the time, but then you're like, what is he doing? That's kind of
Yeah, I think Oliver Stone might take more of a beating now, just because it's like he feels like a nexus point for sort of conspiracy culture in America, which, whether that's deserved or not, I don't know. But nonetheless, it's hard to watch something even as sort of stately as JFK now, because it's like, it launched 1,000 ships, baby.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, the Hand is awesome. Not only just because it's well written and it's well directed, and Oliver Stone is, I mean, he's legit good. I'm not going to talk shit about this movie as far as the direction goes, but Michael Caine, he kind of carries it for me, which I wasn't expecting because, Reputation, this is a paycheck movie, but he is exceptionally good.
He's great
at being a colossal dickhead who is just sort of, if you like, teetering on the edge.
If you ever want like proof that Michael Caine is a movie star, I mean, The Hand is it. Because he's not doing a lot in the movie, but he absolutely centers and grounds the whole thing. And he's very obviously like on record saying like, this is a stupid movie I did for money. But just the gravitas of Caine's presence kind of, centers a movie about a man who gets his hand lopped off in the most absurd car accident known to man, and then just kind of like I don't know, just quietly kind of recovers himself while his wife is going off doing experimental yoga in the most insane I love her yoga class because everyone's doing something different. No one's doing yoga. It's actually just like a contemporary jazz dance class. They didn't know what yoga was, so they're like just making it up. It's like I think everyone just wears leotards and gets sweaty. I think that's, you know.
Oh my god, yeah. And credit to Stone for the writing here again, because the characterization here is fantastic. Like, you didn't need all these little details necessarily, but that's what makes this a cut above, you know, typical exploitation schlock. Because yeah, it's like, oh well, Michael Caine is a cartoonist, and you know, so he loses his hand, and obviously that, you know, fucks up his life. But also it's like they get really into the comic that he draws, which is some like fucking Turok the dinosaur hunter.
It's basically like Ator, the fucking Joe D'Amato coded spinoff, but like an actual cartoon strip. I don't know. I don't even remember what it's called.
Yeah.
It's something like it's pretty much just Ator. It's something like that. It's goofy as shit.
And then he gets mad when his, you know, so after his hand gets lopped off, he, you know, the company that runs his comic strip and newspapers, they hired an artist to help him, and he gets mad because the guy makes, you know, Ator have feelings essentially.
He's got like thought
and
bubbles.
like have thoughts. Yeah, so he's having this argument, and he's literally like, no, he doesn't have thoughts. Why would he think?
You feel like that is coming so directly out of like meetings, because Oliver Stone was like did rewrites on Conan. I think it was like John Milius and then Oliver Stone.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Why are you guys saying Ator when he fucking?
Well, I know he did, but
Conan
you know,
the Barbarian.
Conan, but Conan is one thing that Oliver Stone did work on. But the cartoon, like that's 100% like it's based off the spin-off. You know, it's a cheap cash-in job, it feels like, especially since Michael Caine definitely didn't draw any of it. They should have let him do his own art. That would have been a cartoon strip. That would have been amazing.
But yeah, this is like it's just Oliver Stone airing some shit out. And then I love the wife too, because
she's awful.
She's terrible. Like, as terrible as he is, she's a fucking even bigger piece of shit, because Oliver Stone just predicting the .com bubble, like modern San Francisco person who just does yoga all day and like runs off with some like spiritual leader to San Francisco.
It is amazing
good shit.
that like Michael Caine, it's absolutely like queued up as like just a kind of like self-aggrandizing piece of shit, and somehow Oliver Stone makes his wife worse. It's really spectacular piece of writing.
Fantastic stuff.
Really exceptional. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the fun thing about The Hand to me, I think, is that there's like it's an entertaining movie, but it's spread real thin. Like this is it's based on a book called The Lizard's Tale, which I would assume is coming from an early scene in the movie, probably repeating what's in the book, of where Michael Caine's daughter finds like an ejected lizard's tail. As we know, lizards, many species of lizards, pop their tail off as like a distress response, and the tail twitches and it distracts predators while the lizard runs away. And in this case, you know, she finds a lizard's tail, and she's like poking, and it's still thrashing around. It's like, how does it know it's still alive? And he's like, it's not still alive. Don't worry, darling, or whatever, you know, because he's Michael Caine. He's like, shut up. But this is the movie, and it's like that's the like setup for the whole movie, but it doesn't really work. Like, his hand then gets lopped off, and his hand goes on a murderous revenge fest. Is it like a lizard's tail with some kind of sense memory, or is it just firing synapses? No one knows, because that's not really applicable to the film at all. It's an incredibly like thinly spread metaphor, but who cares? It's absurd and it looks great. So that's kind of like, and people just get strangled, and he hooks up with a college student. It's just a bunch of like basically like baby boomer neuroses just tied all together and just strung along for an hour and 40 minutes.
You know, there's like a 45 minutes of this movie that's just like Bruce McGill and Michael Caine like arguing over who gets to fuck an 18-year-old or something. It's like
who they both really respect, by the way. She's a good artist.
Even though she's just a catch.
Couple of real woman respecters, yeah. And that's the problem. You know, Michael Caine simply cannot stop having sex with children and strangling people. It's horrible. He just can't.
It's really relatable 80s content. Yeah. I mean, it's such a, like, there's this really interesting veneer to it that, yes, he's lost the hand, and then the hand seems to be acting on its own. It ruins the, you know, he was complaining about this guy who took over his comic strip and ruined it by making him a big, you know, girl's blouse thinky guy. So, you know, the main plates get all smeared with ink and ruined. And Michael Caine didn't do that, but the hand did that. But maybe Michael Caine and the hand are actually one and the same. Maybe there is no reanimated hand. Except, spoiler alert, in the last scene, there is definitely a reanimated hand. So it's one of those movies. It's kind of like, what if? You know, blurring the line. Is it Is it dark fantasy? Is it something external to Michael Caine? Is it both? Who knows? Makes you think. But, you know, like I say, I think there's a problem that at a certain point you're like, you can't really think about this too much. It really falls apart. No. If a certain amount of thinking, you hit a brick wall and then there's just Michael Caine banging a college student because he's lonely. That's the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is
like
movie.
Filthy dump cabin.
Sure. Yeah. After he... that was a weird setup too for old Oliver, where it was like he gets her this Christmas gift and you're like, oh, is he like falling in love with this woman or something? Like he got her this meaningful gift and she's leaving on this sex vacation. It's like, no, he got her a sexy necklace. I'm like, is that really the beat right here? We're going for?
Oh, fucking army green lingerie. Every Vietnam vet's favorite.
Yeah, I don't. It's a strange thing, especially because a lot of people, again, not really well respected, but a lot of people seem to read it as a movie that's like going for a twist or something. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess if you're like taking that last seed as like the most literal thing possible, then sure. But there's no point in this movie where I'm like, oh, there's a hand crawling around.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, this guy's losing his fucking gore.
Yeah. The only thing that the movie, it's not really a twist. It's just a continuation of what you've seen. But the movie largely stays out of the realm of camp for most of the runtime. But then at the very end, when Michael Caine is fighting the hand and then he's in prison, I don't know, getting his brain probed about the hand, then we go into high camp territory. But that's really the only thing. It just kind of shifts into high gear in the last 10 minutes, and that's it. But yeah, overall, shit, man. Don't fucking sleep on the hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. And it also, worth mentioning, has a cameo for Oliver Stone as the first victim of the hand. It's as a homeless man who's just like, he plays that role for all it's worth, and obviously ends up being strangled. And it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of people have probably thought that about Oliver Stone. So it's good that he put it in one of his very first movies.
As this is an Oliver Stone script, I believe, he is credited, of course, as Bum. You know.
As Bum, yes. And he puts his all into the role, and he just gets killed in an alleyway weirdly replete with, like, fruit baskets or whatever, like, you know, like the wooden trays for carrying fruit around in like wholesalers. Weird, that's just what's there, and he gets killed by Michael Caine, but maybe not. But it is Michael Caine, because otherwise the movie doesn't make goddamn lick of sense.
Yeah, and you know what? You want to watch an Oliver Stone movie? What are you gonna do? Fucking throw on Savages? I don't think so. Watch The Hand. Come on. What are you doing? Now, I guess moving on. Where do you go after The Hand? Well, why not the whole ass arm? And Myros, I think this speaks to your ongoing infatuation with the handsome Jeff Fahey.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this episode, because you guys were really you guys, Jack especially, was disparaging poor Jeff Fahey in the last VR episode.
I just can't get on the same level.
It's coming back.
You see, because I'm like Jessica Alba, but apparently Adam is all into 1991 Jeff Fahey, and I'm just saying, I think equivalent, like Jessica Alba is at least as attractive as Jeff Fahey, I think.
I tend to think I go for more interesting looking folk personally. You know, Jessica Alba's like, you know, precision manufactured beauty.
Ouch.
Jeff Fahey has more of that rugged charm.
Yeah, he's a weird goddamn guy to be a lead in movie. That's for fucking sure.
Part of the weirdness of him being a lead.
This is the most handsome he's ever been. As far as I'm concerned. He looks like.
I'm just gonna say part of the weirdness of him being the lead is kind of like because Jeff Fahey's never quite charismatic enough, which to be fair is something you could also level against Jessica Alba 100%. But it is a little bit odd. It's kind of like he's got everything but not quite. But here he is in another movie in the lead role. It's peculiar.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with Lawnmower Man as his prime beefcake role. I gotta say.
Oh yeah, well because he's shirtless.
Once he transitioned to sexy, smart, Lawnmower Man. Then Joe is rocking it in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's very fuckable in that movie. But I don't know, like his hair is just so fucking good in this. He looks like if Chris Pine fucked Maxwell Caulfield, like the guy who played Rex Manning in Empire Records.
Oh, yeah.
It's real good. Like it's an incredible look. But yeah, so what happens? Another whoopsie.
Where do we go from here?
So this is great because it's just like I love when I watch a movie and it's just dumb guy's version of something I love, and this is exactly that. This is real dumb guy David Cronenberg shit we got going on here. And it's so beautiful. But Jeff Fahey is a strong but sensitive doctor, a psychologist who works for the prison system, and it's his job to determine if someone is insane, or if they are sane, then they can be put on death row. And this causes a lot of internal conflict for him because he's like, what is the nature of evil, and how can I hold a man's life in my hands? He just says that. We don't really
he speaks all the key talking points out loud, very literally. At one point towards the end of it, he literally says if a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, what sound does it make? These are the philosophical inquiries of body parts.
It's real good because he's writing like an academic paper, and he puts that in a fucking academic paper, which is incredible. And then he ends it with talking about the arm that he got, which comes from a serial killer, as we find out eventually. And he's just like, "Yeah, bitch, your arm's mine now." And then his wife is like, "Is that how you want to end this academic paper?" And he's like, "Yeah, a little bit of humor." No, what the fuck are you writing? Like an article for Gawker? What? No, absolutely fucking not. But anyways, it's great because Fahey loses his arm because he is just driving down the road and somebody's tire blows out, and there's this amazing crash.
Oh my god, yeah.
A couple of great like car chase sequences in this film, which is for the most part kind of like slow burn, talky, cerebral, but there's just these bursts of action. And this semi-truck rams into Jeff Fahey's sedan and sends not Jeff Fahey, but stuntman Jeff Fahey flying through the windshield. And you see it and you go, God damn, that looks grisly. Because you see the car like completely accordion, and then you watch the stuntman, and you could tell when they shoot something and they kind of speed up the film stock so it looks like he's moving faster through the windshield. And that's fine because we don't want people to actually get hurt. But it looks like he actually got hit at like 80 miles per hour and flew through the windshield. Come to find out, he did. And he almost died. He
it's fine.
He flew 50 feet through the fucking air.
The best thing about the best thing about the trivia is they say it's like he nearly died, but instead he was uninjured entirely, so it's fine. Which I don't believe that for a second. I think this man was definitely injured. I think someone got severely hurt putting this shit together.
Oh my God. You just like watch him crumple as he's like hits the glass. You just instantly see him get knocked out. You're like, fuck, that guy is not alive. 110% dead. So wherever you are, God bless you, bud. But anyways, what ends up happening is they're able to save Jeff Fahey, but wouldn't you know, his arm got severed because he got launched through a windshield. And so instead of being stumpy for the rest of his life, a brilliant surgeon, and this is your Cronenbergian villain, has apparently gotten access to someone who was executed on death row and harvested their limbs to attach to other people. So Jeff Fahey gets an arm. There's an artist who gets an arm, and then a basketball player who gets a couple of legs. And come to
just
find out,
the regular number of
murderous impulses.
Is that guy really a basketball? Is this a pro basketball?
I don't know. Well, he's like, oh, my factory job where I got my legs mushed or something. But then they just show him like hooping it up, and you're like, oh, he's kind of big. Although he wears gym shorts over a pair of sweatpants, which I think is kind of fucking weird.
You gotta hide those
probably
scars.
don't need
He's
both of those.
self-conscious.
Yeah, but then why do you need the shorts over the sweatpants? What does that do?
I
just don't want. He doesn't want people to see his dick outline, or like what's his deal?
Aerodynamic flair.
Maybe this was the style in 1991. I don't know.
To look like a total fucking goober. Sure.
Well, it's the 90s, Steve. That it seems distinctly possible to me.
Sorry, yeah, because Vanilla Ice looked so cool for his whole career.
Oh, the coolest. Yeah, well, listen, if Jeff Fahey had laser lines on the side of his fucking head, that would have been way better. But yeah, anyways, it turns out that if you steal the limbs from a serial killer, then you are haunted with the evil impulses and memories of that serial killer, who actually might not be dead and may be a torso with a piss bag attached, living in a fish tank.
The piss bag attached is a beautiful touch. That's right. The production designer really stepped it up that day.
That was real good.
I'm not sure what's going on.
I just picture the director standing there, and he's like, you know what? I wanted this to be as realistic as possible. How's this guy gonna piss?
Yep.
Like, is the torso insignificant? I think the significant portion is the fact that his head is also put on some Frankenstein body at some point.
We don't know whose body gets the head, but and such is the problem with the film, because essentially body parts manifest on the line that the doctor who is doing these reattachment surgeries is actually essentially a Dr. Frankenstein, and she's completely off the register of any kind of medical ethics and is reconstructing people out of dead parts. And that's kind of a late film realization. Cool. But it is a problem because fundamentally the problem with body parts is, and I enjoyed this movie, and I think this movie's about 3 scenes of explicit nudity away from perfection as like a cable TV movie. I think that's really what we're aiming for here. It just has a problem because it's mostly Jeff Fahey kind of asking stupid philosophical questions like, does evil live in the flesh? Does it live in the skin? Does it live in the brain? And then the rest of the movie is very explicitly like, no, evil is kind of a supernatural thing. So there's no actual question to answer what he's doing. There's no answer at all. The movie's very mixed up in that sense, because it's literally like, where is the nature of humanity? What is, the nature of where is the will placed? And it's like the will is actually completely supernatural and involves telepathy, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's stupid. Like, it doesn't work at all as a dramatic device.
It's like where it stops being a Cronenberg movie, and you realize this is an Eric Red movie who's written some rippers of scripts. He and
like Catherine Bigelow are a hell of a team.
Blue Steel. Yeah, he's done a lot of fun movies, but he's not Cronenberg. And thereby this movie really devolves from like these philosophical queries into this weird homunculus running around ripping people's body parts off. And you're like,
dude, the homunculus fucking rocks too, because he's wearing like a neck brace
just to keep his head on.
Just to keep his head on, just barely holding on. And the other thing I don't understand either is like, I don't get why they get to the point, because at one point Jeff Fahey goes to Mrs. Frankenstein, the woman who put the arm on him, and says, listen, I'm getting haunting murder nightmares. P.S. I also like cold cocked my 8-year-old son in the living room, which fucking rocks.
That was a good scene.
And and so he's pretty upset. He's like, can you take this thing off? And she's like, absolutely not. Under no circumstances will I take your arm off again. And then within 10 minutes of the movie's runtime, the other people that have gotten the limbs attached and Jeff Fahey are being stalked for their limbs. It's like, Jeff, he offered this up. He said, take it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Because the serial killer basically wants all his limbs back. He wants to be put back together. So yeah, it's fair point. Jeff Fahey was like, he could have lived, but the other guys all got horribly murdered just to reclaim. There's an amazing scene in this film, a huge car crash. The car crashes in this movie are like weirdly kinetic compared to everything else happening in the film. Yeah, they're incredible, kinetic, like fiery affairs. And there's one scene where they have a car crash, like the car skids off the road and smashes into the parked cars and instantly just explodes in a fireball. And the man inside of the car is just like scrambling to pick up bloody chunks of like just legs, whole legs severed, and arms, and like gather them all in like the shopping to try and get out of the car while everything is on fire. Remarkable image. I will completely give the film credit for that.
Good.
Yeah, that whole chase is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it's also complete nonsense where Homunculus just rolls up and like handcuffs himself to Jeff.
Yeah, seriously, that whole scene is like something out of like Maniac Cop 2. Like it's this insane supercharged action sequence stuck into the middle of a movie that where it just doesn't make any sense. Like most of this movie is Jeff Fahey brooding. Like that's the majority of the film.
Yeah, it's such a weird movie because no, I'm not disparaging Fahey. I think he has his role in this movie, but I think this character and Fahey probably should be secondary to, like, you've got Brad Dourif and he's doing something, and especially if you want to explore this nature of evil stuff and this element of the painter who's getting his ideas from the serial killer, and this inspiration is that's something. You've got something there. And you've got a performer who's...
It's like, what if the new Candyman movie was good?
Sure.
That's what it would be.
Yeah, you know, Brad Dourif is like a breath of fresh air in this movie, as like we say, the artist who was struggling, and then suddenly he's painting these like visceral paintings of people being strangled or attacked, and like he thinks he's plucking the idea out of thin air, but it's actually his new arm from an ex-serial killer that's like placing this idea, this vision in his head. He's actually painting like glimpses of actual murders, and he doesn't realize it, but suddenly he's super popular. There's definitely something far more compelling to that than the kind of criminal profiler guy who's kind of sad.
Yeah, it feels like they criminal profiler should be the secondary character, and who he's meeting up at the bar, and then this should be Dourif's fucking movie.
Oops.
You just reframe your POV character, and you've got yourself something probably a lot more compelling.
Yeah. I don't know. This one is kind of a curiosity, and it's another one where I'd be like, if you're into Dumb Cronenberg, if that appeals to you, and the idea of goofball 90s Frankenstein just kind of, you know, tickles your fancy, I think this is another one. It's not going to set your world on fire, but it's fucking fun.
Yeah, it is.
I will die on the hill of Homunculus, like Jack said, getting out of a fiery car wreck and trying to collect legs off of his dashboard.
Yeah, and like, talk about
that will never not be funny.
Talk about a cast of interesting actors. You've got it here for sure, and also, I feel like we should mention the climax, because I don't know what they're going for exactly, but I think that it's like literally a Frankenstein thing, because it's not. I mean, apparently the doctor is not content with this miracle of limb transplant, which she's apparently successfully done 4 times from one body. Seems like a job well done, Doc, but really her goal was all along to apparently execute these transplants and then take back all the limbs and rebuild the murderer.
That's what I was saying. What is the fucking point of it? I don't understand. Why?
I don't know.
Especially with Jeff Fahey, he's trying to offer the arm back. He says, take it. She goes, no, I got to have Homunculus handcuff you so we could have an amazing car chase where 2 cars are just speeding in parallel of one another, avoiding media.
It's literally,
presumably she would have no idea of the consequences that these limbs would have on these people. That's not really a part of it. When she's like denying it, I tend to like think that's an honest denial. Like, what, you're batshit? Why would an arm make you fucking kill your son or something? But what is her end game? Was she gonna like? I just don't understand. I mean, obviously her end game is Frankenstein, conquer death, blah blah blah. We can live beyond the grave, but I don't understand where all these transplants really
it takes several easy routes out, because by the end of the film, obviously the serial killer's brain, his head gets blown off, so his brain is splattered everywhere and he's truly dead. And then Jeff Fahey just chimes in with like, and from then on my arm was fine. Okay, cool. That's sorted.
So, like, but I mean, didn't she already achieve her goal then? Like, if she put the guy's head on another body and he was good to go, then didn't she conquer death? Like, why is all of a sudden now she's just got all these limbs and
she's just bad?
I just don't understand.
Just you know, a bad doctor, kind of negative vibe. That's really what we're into.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a good doctor.
Yeah. I mean, very good, but poor customer service. I think is like poor, like great results, bad Yelp page.
Yeah, for sure. And it even says in the beginning, it's just like, oh, she's going to win the Nobel Prize. This is so exciting. And instead of just doing that and maybe continuing on with her research, nefarious as it may be, she's like, you know, I just want Homunculus to get the legs back. I need those legs. That's a special leg to me.
Yeah, who needs adulation and riches when you could just be completely insane? It's so much better.
I've been saying that.
No,
this guy must have been quite the specimen. I'll say that. He can slam dunk even after his legs have been severed off. You know, you put him back on, slam dunk time, and yeah, you know, Fahey's new arms twice as powerful as his old one or something. So
this one,
yeah, he gets smack an 8-year-old across the room.
With a real Hulk.
This one takes an interesting thing because the character, the serial killer they get them from, they're like, he's committed 20 murders, but then they later reveal like 5 of them are police officers. So I think in like 2020's America, like we're thinking he's 15 murders and some change. Probably.
I mean, we might give him credit on this. We'll get him down to 10, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like 5 off. That's pretty. Yeah, just 10 murders. So you're right. That's how that adds up. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, no, I think definitely this movie is like, this is a really solid cable TV joint that just needs more just lurid nudity. Like they should go to a strip club at some point. They forget to do that, and it's kind of a shame. It just feels like if 12-year-old me would enjoy this movie a lot, but I'd feel cheated, you know? So gotta get that balance, get it right.
Yeah, there is. It just doesn't quite go far enough. I do want a harder R on this thing. Even just take your bar scene, which it evolves into a crazy brawl, and give me some more like violence from The Fly. You know, these guys are all juiced up on their super limbs. Have them snapping bones, and also have some strippers on the stage in the bar. You got yourself a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I think that's really funny, the scene where he like beats up a guy at the bar for harassing him, and then he beats up all his friends. They all look like they're dressed like generic bikers, and it's just kind of like, can you imagine being the biker gang where every single one of you were beaten up by a criminal psychologist one night? You'd never be able to talk to each other again. Like that gang has been disbanded. No one is putting on those denims anymore.
So one more question before we move forward, because there's a fucking elephant in the room here that we have not addressed. What the fuck is Zakes Bouquet doing as Detective Sawchuk? Because
it's very confusing. Yeah, who's great?
I think Jeff Fahey is cast perfectly.
Yeah.
Like he's just weird, and he has this presence that I can't quite quantify, but I like it. And then you've got this guy who is, I mean, he's a pretty acclaimed, largely a character actor. He's South African, but he's supposed to play like the lead homicide detective for like
who also shows up for bar
New
fights.
York City police office. Yeah, who shows up for bar fights for some reason. And every time that he's interacting with Jeff Fahey, you get the feeling that they're not even in the same room. They're having different conversations.
Yeah, it's
so weird.
Odd. Yeah, I mean, I know is Moke from like Dust Devil, which is a great horror movie, but like it's an African-based horror movie, and a South African actor makes sense. He worked in England for years, but like he's very unequivocally, obviously a South African actor. So it's a bit weird for him to just show up as like the detective, or like the desk detective on the night, who kind of gets roped into the whole thing. He seems like a really weird kind of a person to bring in, but yeah, part of that is also kind of like, I think there's kind of a fun flavor quotient to that in a movie that like it's not quite firing all cylinders, so it kind of helps, where you're like, why is the police officer clearly not American? Like, that's kind of a weird one, but sure, why not?
Yeah, it works.
I think Eric Red's priority was just like, Get all weird, interesting character actors. It doesn't matter if they make sense. Just get them in here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And to that end, Brad Dourif is great, I think, in his small role. He does a really great job of just as like the painter who is like kind of like enamored with his own newfound success of just painting weird, graphic, gory paintings. He's but like the money's good, so whatever. I'm not going to ask any more questions. It's pretty solid role from him, and I agree with Adam. Probably maybe this should be a Brad Dourif movie. So, oops.
Yeah, well, that's it goes without saying that he's like, name a movie where Brad Dourif isn't fucking
That's
great.
true.
Right?
Yeah,
guy rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, another hit, and then I guess our final Hand movie in the Grand Hand trilogy, spanning 3 full decades of Hand films. Almost. I think this one came out in 1999, but the film is, of course, the only movie where Devon Sawa's severed hand scalps the singer of The Offspring. It's Idle Hands, and shit, man, I don't know. I thought this was something completely different. I always lump it in with like, there's this weird like transitioning into the 21st century, but not quite there yet. Like Gen X slacker, but not in the cool subversive way, like in the early 90s, but just in this kind of cynical studio way. So I'm thinking like Joe's Apartment.
Yeah, the MTV film.
Monkey Bone. Yeah. And then you've got Idle Hands, which is a horror comedy, I guess.
Nominally.
And this one gets shit on a lot. I think even when it came out, like I just remember getting eviscerated by critics. And it's not great, but there's something going on.
It's not awful.
I feel like it's almost there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the last episode we watched all 4 House movies. So frankly, Idle Hands it's doing fine. It's not terrible.
And it could be a house movie.
It really could.
A couple of houses in this one.
No, there's definitely an overlap because if I had a complaint about Idle Hands, it is that it is kind of like a shapeless, amorphous lump of a film. There's almost no structure to it whatsoever. Things just happen because they seem like they don't know what's happening at any point. They don't really know why anything should happen. There's no overarching thesis. It's just like, here's the saddest, most pathetic man in the world, but he definitely deserves the love of the pretty girl next door, but some bad stuff happens. Why does the bad stuff happen? We're not entirely sure. Don't dwell on that. Here's some more things. Here's Seth Green. He's very funny. And the film just kind of meanders away on its own, like kind of like a disembodied hand itself, frankly, just kind of like keep going on memory, just sort of like carrying out its own kind of remembered tasks.
I guess it could be like a punchline. It's
true to its nature.
Don't you think like there could be a punchline to this idea that we don't know why his hand is possessed, and then it's revealed late that it's like the fucking demon possesses like the most worthless piece of shit, lazy asshole in a city. And that should be a punchline. That should be a really funny reveal. And it's kind of not, because there's so much other stuff that's happening almost independently of this that is also like completely unexplained, such as his friends returning as zombies.
Which I don't understand that.
That's just I saw American Werewolf in London and fucking thought it'd be cool to throw in my movie.
Totally. Now, again, to the movie's credit, there is something here. Like it's got its charms. I think Devon Sawa's good. He plays a useless piece of shit really well. As far as like stoner comedies go from the 90s, it's one of the least annoying. So that's worth fucking patting him on the back for, I suppose. But yeah, I think it struggles because at some point, instead of following a pretty like clear path that the narrative sets forth, it goes off on all these tangents that don't add up to anything, and they're not fun, and they're not funny. There's not a lot of jokes in this movie. And it's just bizarre. Like, yeah, his friends come back. Why do his friends come back? Because the movie's got good special effects, and it was fun to do that. And you probably saw American Werewolf in London. why don't his parents come back? They were murdered. Well, maybe Fred Willard demanded too much money. I'm not sure, but they don't.
No.
They don't, and the other people get murdered don't. Just his friends for whatever reason.
Part of the issue for the film is like, and I think one of the issues that kicks against everything else is the fact there's no emotional shape to the film, because like his parents get murdered and he discovers their mutilated corpses and he's just sort of like, guess I better bury them, and he just buries his parents and then he continues hitting on the girl next door. Like it's just no. And he's not like he hates his parents or anything.
No.
It's just like there's no human kind of relatability to the character at all. Nothing like, and without that, like even once you skip over these very fundamental kind of anchoring points, the rest of the movie doesn't make a lick of sense. Like none of it can stand up, because who the hell is this character? What the hell is going on?
It's like the archetype you'd see executed much better in like Shaun of the Dead, where you can get away with these gags where he's like completely oblivious to the chaos that's like unfolding around him because it's not his fucking parents. It's like you can't you can't add in that level of like intimacy with the danger, because then it's like, what is this guy, like a fucking psychopath? Like why am I rooting for him?
I know, it's basically like he's Michael Caine in The Hand. You're like, oh no, he's actually doing the murders. This thing about his hand being possessed isn't true, but it is true. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the idea that, I mean, I get why he wants to bang Jessica Alba. Like, you know, a couple of dead parents isn't going to get in the way of that. But I don't understand why Jessica Alba wants to bang him, and that's not explored particularly well. So you've got this love interest, and then you've got this side story where there's like a demon hunter played by Vivica Fox, who's trying to find the hand, and she's triangulated the location because it makes a pentagram and all this shit. But really her role is, it's like nothing. It's completely like inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And it builds to this climax where they're at a school dance and the hand is going to murder everyone, and particularly Jessica Alba as a sacrifice to Satan. And so it ends in the dumbest way humanly possible.
What was that stupid thunder bong or what the fuck?
Yeah, there's like a bong made out of a carburetor, and then his friend whose head was severed bumps something in the auto shop, and it drops a car on Devon Sawa, and then he dies, but then he doesn't die, and then his friends become guardian angels, and you're just like, what the fuck is even like? Why don't you go with it? Like, there's you have the ending. He saves Jessica Alba, everything's fine, like it's there, and then they go, no, let's drop a fucking car.
It's a weirdly religious film at the end. It's like very much in like it's basically they're like segueing from Idle Hands teen sex horny comedy to like Highway to Heaven episode. By the end of it's like, yes, your friends your friends are gone, but they'll protect you. And it's like, what? Does anyone want this? Do I want my stoner friend to help me?
There has got to be another ending to this movie that exists somewhere, because there's no way that it was just that this was what was on the fucking
page. This is the reshoot.
I can confirm this to you because the director's bio on IMDb, by the way, the director of this film is Timothée Chalamet's uncle. Just, you know, in case we want to go into the weird incestuous levels of Hollywood. But one of his directing credits is Idle Hands' alternate ending. What that is, who knows? But yeah, there's definitely more than one ending to this film. And it shows, I mean, the whole film feels like it was like kind of sticky taped together from scenes. It doesn't have any kind of a flow at all.
No. It really does feel like, I don't know if it was a hatchet job, but it does, like the way that it's fragmented and the way that there's no connective tissue with the different story beats. It really feels hacked to pieces. But again, it does have a certain charm to it. And I think part of that is, you know, it is the most late 90s ass movie you will ever see in your
it's
entire
fucking
life.
Wild. Like literally within 3 seconds of the opening credits starting, you can place the film within a 5-year period. Like no quite like instantly you're just like, oh, this is from like 1999 2004, like unquestionably.
But with that in mind, like it's so of that time aesthetically and just with the soundtrack and everything, which we can talk about that. But the other thing that I really like about it is it's right on the cusp. It's like this pre-cell phone internet, ubiquity era. And the cool thing about the narrative here is this movie, this could have been like an 80s horror comedy movie. Like it has that feel to it, and it's got these great practical effects. So you have something that is very of the time, while at the same time you can see how it would fit into other eras too. And I don't know, it's just that part of it is good. That there's like a really solid core here. It's just they don't do anything with it.
I don't know. I can't get behind it just because anytime there might be something I like, it's just like, and then it's spliced together with like 2 zombies ripping a bong and fucking Santeria blasting down your ear holes. It's like,
I mean, it is frustrating that, like, I do think probably the 2 best characters in this are Vivica A. Fox as the priestess, voodoo priestess, who's kind of like sidelined through the whole movie, despite being the only person who knows what's going on. Her and Jack Noseworthy as like the, like, kind of just like older, kind of like metalhead guy who's really into her. Like their energy and repartee, I think, is probably the strongest thing in the movie, and it's entirely an afterthought. Like they don't really know what to do with it. They're definitely like side characters. They're pinning so much on Seth Green being funny in this movie, which many producers have done I don't know what. I don't even have anything particularly against Seth Green. He's not the guy that apparently people in the 90s and early 2000s thought he was, because you look back on these movies and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't have put that in his hands. That's not what he's for. But here he is again. I guess
he's doing better than his fucking cohort. Old Foggy Nelson there. Eldon Hansen. Jesus Christ, what a fucking nightmare that guy is in this movie.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I mean, good, Seth Green is not Devon Sawa in this film. Seth Green went on to create some luminary productions as Robot Chicken, which is, I've only seen an episode or 2 of it. It's the most scatological fucking ADHD bullshit I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? Whatever. It could be worse, probably. So, good for him. But yeah, like the movie is very much like, it's Seth Green, your favorite stoner guy. And it's kind of like, I don't think I'm that invested in him, thanks, but okay. And this is my reaction in 1999 as it is now in 2023. It's the same thing. It's like, that's all right. Can we look at someone else? But probably not Devon Sawa either, because he's really, he works the material well enough, I think, but he's not a tremendously charismatic center point for the film. He's not really holding it up that well. I get, actually all of the people, like Jessica Alba, very beautiful girl, not really that great as a lead character. And I think her careers probably kind of bore that out. So yeah, they really could have done something more. It's probably a reason I'm looking at Vivica A. Fox in this and going like, that person has some real energy. She's in this movie. And then they tried to get rid of her. They're like, you're in this movie, but only for 5 minutes. And I was like, please, give us something. Help us out here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think those characters are much more interesting, even if they don't make an effort to make them make sense. Like when they steal that guy's truck, I'm like, why is the guy's truck like parked at their fucking house? That's not really like, none of it makes spatial sense. It's just, but it's the sort of movie where it's like, I don't know, man. Pass the fucking roach, and we'll get through it together, I guess. But
yeah, a lot of the shortcomings of this are definitely just like, oh, if you never smoked weed, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, just keep going.
Yeah, it gets away with a lot just on that. It's like, oh yeah, that's who this is for. So just hand wave it away. I'm watching the alternate ending in the background right now. It's far too long, but it's at least it's much more visually interesting. Some sort of like swimming pool to hell, and it's got like a Day of the Dead arms bursting out of the wall thing. It looks like a superior choice, I gotta say.
Yeah,
the low bar.
I guess maybe they thought it was too cynical, so they reshot to like what's the best ending we could have. The best ending you could have is you just end with like him saving Jessica Alba and they kiss and then it's done. But
I feel like the
I
best
guess this
ending,
one doesn't involve a big super bong, so you got to stimulate
the best
it.
ending is probably Devon Sawa's character getting dragged to hell and everyone being like, well, he wasn't that much of a person to begin with, it's probably fine. Like, that seems like probably the okay ending, is like he seemed like kind of a piece of shit. So
no, that's fair. All right, well, we should probably wrap things up. So, Jack, what are you putting over this week?
Oh, that's a great, you know, because most of the movies I watched this week involve severed hands for some fucking reason.
Who knows?
Guys. I'm gonna put over. I've just been watching in between everything. Watching Hong Kong movies. I watched Ricky Lau's 1985 Hong Kong comedy Mr. Vampire. It's a goofy ass movie. It's like the first 5 minutes of it are like a horror movie, like a vampire kind of like scary movie, and then they forget anything to do with comedy or with horror, and it just becomes a comedy. It just becomes an absurd kind of a crazy movie. That has an entirely, mostly unrelated ghost story that just takes up a good chunk of the movie too. But visually, it's really creative. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of really wild sequences. It's not really a martial arts movie, but there's still a fair share of like wild stunt work as they like try and get away from the vampires, etc. So yeah, Mr. Vampire, it was an important movie in Hong Kong. It kicked off like a whole wave of Asian vampire movies in the 80s. So if nothing else, that's something to look at. But yeah, Mr. Vampire by Ricky Lau. It's fun.
Myros, what are you putting over this week?
As per usual, I haven't watched jack shit, so I'm going to put over an Eric Red movie. You know, Eric Red, he's
Eric
the Red, yes. I'm going to put over Eric the Red. No, as many pillagings. No, there's the Hitcher. The Hitcher is, you want to talk about like a perfect cable movie, there you go. Like, this is the one where he nails everything, I feel like. This, he did not direct it, but it's a really tight script, and you talk about what maybe body parts could have been in the hands of Brad Dourif leading character. Well, here you've got Rutger Hauer, and he's doing some shit. And The Hitcher is a movie that if you see it on TV, you should always watch it. It's a classic.
No, absolutely. I've only ever seen it on TV. I've never seen The Hitcher on
well, that's all right.
Because it used to play all the time when I was a kid, and I fucking loved it. Because Rutger Hauer's a badass, and it's just, I don't know, like just the whole look of it. It's got good vibes.
There's a fancy 4K coming pretty soon, I think. Say they did a big deep dive. I think Second Sight in the UK have a 4K coming.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal because
that's one of those movies that's rights.
People were not expecting anyone to be able to dig it out, and it looks like it's going to happen. So it's going to be exciting.
Hell yeah, get down with that. All right, well, this week I'm the new gamer god in town, so I'm going to put over a couple games. The first one is it's a Doom 2 mod, and it's called My House.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And yeah, it's very fucking cool. Basically, there's this whole thing in the modding community for Doom and Doom 2, which has been going on for since the game came out, basically, so 30 years, and people used to do this thing where they would basically like, I'm going to build my house in Doom or whatever. So this is like a very common type of mod. And essentially they still have these like Doom mod message boards. And there was a guy who had been posting since, I don't know, the early 2000s or something ridiculous. And he posted this mod and he was like, yeah, my friend passed away and he had been working on this mod and it was, of his house or whatever. So I finished it for him and I just want to upload it in his memory. So something really nice. And then people downloaded it and they realized it's this like completely like fucked up horror game under the thin veneer of like, I did a nice thing for my friend. It's great. It does things that you don't normally see done with the Doom engine, like just the way architecturally things are laid out. I don't understand how he did some of the stuff. It's really cool. Now, if you're saying, I don't know how to download like a specific modified version of Doom 2 and then add a WAD file on top of that to launch this game, that's fine. You could figure it out if you want to, but if you don't want to play it, if you go on YouTube, there's some good walkthrough videos that people have done, and I would recommend watching one of those because it's really fucking good. Now, if you're not interested in Doom, another thing I've been playing a little bit of is this game called Tape to Tape, which is what if NHL 94 was a roguelike?
Ooh.
So it's really, really fun. It plays like a retro hockey game, but you add different guys to your roster, and then you get perks for winning games, and it's really fun. It scratches my nostalgic sports game itch, and then also it's a roguelike, which I play far too many of. And Myros, you'll be happy to know that it is a roguelike, but it's not particularly difficult, like overly difficult. So I think you could handle it.
Well, I am pretty good at NHL 94.
I mean, well, shit. Then you're pretty much set. All the tricks work too, like the little wrap around from behind the net and setting up the one timers. It all tracks, man. It's all there. So, highly recommend that as well. So, if you're listening to this podcast right now, if you look in the description, you will see a link to our Patreon. And why would you want to click on that link to our Patreon? And the answer is so you can give us money. What does that money go towards? Well, it goes towards keeping the podcast running. Podcast hosting is expensive, and you're helping us out. And we maybe someday we can do other stuff like buy Adam Myros a gun, sign Jack up for the Marines. What did we decide the third one was going to be?
God, that's a.
We're going to Cannes.
Oh, yeah, we're going to Cannes. No, that's the new one. Yeah, we want to go there.
that's the new one.
maybe we go in the off season. If we go in the off season, it's going to be cheaper. So maybe we hit Cannes in December. What do you think?
We'll go to the south of France in December, and then just watch whatever's at the local.
Yeah, and we'll review it thoroughly. We'll put out effusive reviews 3 seconds after the movie's end credits have finished. It'll be just like the real thing.
Yeah. This would be a more constructive use of our time, frankly, than just being one of the 50,000th person reviewing the films actually airing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I enjoy just watching like Alex Billington and Matt Neglia like just rush to be the first person to post a rating on Letterboxd after this.
There's nothing I love more than learning that a movie I'm going to watch in 4 months is handsomely mounted. It's serious. It's an important thing to me.
I suppose the other option, and this would admittedly be a little more expensive, is we could go during the festival and just not attend the festival fucking at all.
That could also work. Yeah, no. Like the beach looks lovely there, and you'd still see some people
fucked up on the beach.
Can you imagine?
I vote we go there and we get fucked up on the beach, and then we just review all the movies. Like I'll read whatever like Mad Libs bullshit.
Can you imagine being like 6 cans of Natty Light deep and just shouting at Kristen Stewart from like 200 yards away? Like that sounds like the dream to me.
Jack, you drinking Natty Light? Aren't you an ally, man?
I don't fucking know what's available in the south of France. What am I supposed to do? Like wine coolers? I don't fucking know.
I don't. Oh yeah, what's the French Natty Light? I'm not even sure.
I don't know if France has a Natty Light. They've just got table wine made by the nearest farmer who may or may not be like an incestuous fucking cannibal. Who knows? Doesn't matter. It's cheap. It's alcoholic. Probably. It's probably fine.
It's not fine unless it's Bud Light. Make mine Bud Light.
What I want to know is like, okay, so I mean, we've got like ChatGPT, and people are worried about like the ethics of AI, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't we prove that AI can be good by using it what it was meant to be for, which is a Matt Neglia review generator? Like, I feel like that is easy enough.
I think that
basically he writes like he's AI. Like it's just I can't, like the guy is like. I don't know what his fucking deal is. Like, I'm literally bringing up one of his reviews right now just because
I think Dolly could do some real stuff with his face too. I must say.
Oh my God.
I think we could get some wonderful
all the things everything he writes is pretty much just like the story is rooted in characters. Outstanding. And it's like, oh, thank you. That's really, I'll prioritize that one. Thanks.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. All right, I've got his page up. But yeah, he's posting all these pictures of him just looking like a fucking greased bowling ball. Like, With us, like, oh, here he is, Kristen Stewart.
How does he get to Cannes? Like, what the fuck? How is he? There's like numerous real critics in the world who are not able to go to Cannes, but this dude is getting selfies.
Yeah,
like
he's getting it. Well, listen, here's his review of The Breaking Ice. The Breaking Ice is Anthony Chen's best-looking film to date. The icy setting may be cold, but the introspective storytelling of its three main characters and how it examines China's youth through their love triangle is as warm as it gets. Three captivatingly nuanced performances.
God, that makes me think of Ang Lee's The Ice Storm, which also based on the title is a cold movie, but with the warmth of the main characters is something. Is this a connection? Are they the same movie? Who the fuck knows? Not Matt Neglia, I can tell you that much.
Listen, let me give you his review of The New Boy. Not so hot on this one. The New Boy is a sumptuous-looking film basked in the Australian sun with a splendid sounding score. Plot lines aren't fully developed, lacks focus in its overall faith-based messaging, more of a showcase for the mostly silent Eswan Reed than the typically reliable Cate Blanchett.
I hate when the owner develops the story.
Should have said, I prefer DJ Qualls the new guy. I go with.
I like that he gets a freebie.
I was just thinking about DJ Qualls.
He gets a freebie because it's Australian. Oh, under the Australian sun, as opposed to like a movie. You can't just say a movie's under the American sun. That doesn't mean anything. But the Australian sun is obviously that's a major thing. That makes it like Picnic at Hanging Rock.
What the fuck is this? Les Régions Animales, which I'm guessing you saw again. The Animal Kingdom is a wholly unique vision from Thomas Calais. A captivating sci-fi drama and coming-of-age story where humans mutate into animals. That just sounds like fucking Animorphs.
I prefer Rob Schneider's The Animal.
You should just join Letterboxd to comment and let them know that. See, fucking Neglia. Wait, I was telling people why they should donate to our Patreon.
We got sidetracked.
It's not just because I use our podcast to read Matt Neglia Letterboxd reviews on air. No, I mean, you get stuff. If you live in the continental United States, I will send you a movie from my personal collection. That's a free fucking DVD, Blu-ray, whatever the fuck. I got some good shit, too. Now is the best time ever to give us a couple bucks. And then at the higher tier, if you go $5 or more, you get to vote on future episodes. And you also get your name read out on the air. So, Marios, who are 5 and aboves right now?
Steve, we got big news.
Yeah. What up?
We got someone who's going to be calling the shots.
Oh, shit.
What? Oh, shit. What's going on?
We got a new 25er, Sam Sanchez, who is I will be contacting you soon.
Please be kind, Mr. Sanchez.
Hell yeah, brother.
Lord knows what Mr. Sanchez has in store for us, but at that tier, you are able to...
it's fucking hentai time.
You are able to dictate an episode. So we are in your hands, Mr. Sanchez, and we will be contacting you shortly. And Steve will also be contacting you for... shipping information, presumably. So, beyond.
Gotta send the homie a movie. That's good. All right, well, welcome to the fold, Mr. Sanchez. Who else we got at the 5 and above
We
level?
also have CWW, Evan, Ryan, Dustin, and Paula.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, and as Myra said, if you're at the 25 and above level, whether you can do that reoccurringly, which would be amazing, or if you just want to do that once and then bump it back down to whatever, if you give us $25, you get to pick a full-ass episode. So, Mr. Sanchez, like you said, we'll be contacting you to figure out what our fate is. I think it's a good time for a whale cast. A lot of people are probably saying, we're past the Oscars. Why would you want to cover the whale? And maybe you haven't been watching the news, Myros, but there's a lot of whales fucking sinking yachts right now. The whales are revolting.
The European whales are getting smart.
Yeah. You ever go whale mode on a super yacht? So you grease it up with mayonnaise and fold it between two pizzas and fucking crush it.
So you eat the rich.
Yeah. Fucking Shamu is gonna bust your ass open. God, Triangle of Sadness would have been a way better movie if it was about killer whales eating rich people.
Oh, that would have been a huge improvement. Yeah, it would be closer to Sammo Hung's Moon Warriors, which has a killer whale in it.
See? Well, Hollywood, call us up. We're fucking ready. Anyways, what the fuck was I even talking? We were going off in all different directions. But anyways, in addition to all these things, if you are donating at any level, whether it's a couple bucks or $25, you also get access to our whole back catalog of Optimism Vaccine content, and that includes special Patreon-only episodes. There's written content from over the years for as long as we've been doing this, so all kinds of good shit. And that is all yours to peruse.
New episode coming. We're going to record it this week. I'm dictating that. Expect no mercy, but expect a new episode on No Mercy.
No Mercy. Yeah. For Patreon subscribers. So yeah, it's never been a better time to be a Patreon subscriber. Yeah, so if you're listening right now and you have any questions, comments, death threats, marriage proposals, optimismvaccine@gmail.com. You can always email us, or you can tweet at us at optimismvaccine. And fuck, man, do you think, I'm shouting out to producer Colin again, what is the most appropriate song to end on this week? And a lot of people are saying, well, why not The Offspring playing the Ramones? And no, that's a fucking bonehead idiot answer. The real answer is the hit song from Jewel, Hands. You remember Hands, Myros?
No, I don't.
No, it was a kind of like a flop single actually for her. Like it followed up her big album and it didn't do so well. But it's a real shitty song, and I feel like we're gonna let producer Colin kind of go wild here. And does it sound dumber when it's sped up too fast?
Oh wait, it's coming back to me now.
Yeah, that's a Celine Dion song, I think.
What about what about Fuel's Hemorrhage in My Hands? That could be another option.
In my hands again. Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe we get a little bit of both.
We're just
melody.
Gonna let Colin.
We could have done Manos, the Hands
talk.
of Fate this episode, and we forgot. I mean, the hands are still attached to the maidens, but they jostle that poor fucker to death like no one's business.
There's a movie with some. We saw some movies that had unsuspectingly good car chases, and there's a movie that opens with the worst car sequence of all time.
I mean, it's cinema verite.
Right.
It's just in a car.
Just watching a car in real time. It's fucking Hong Sang 2 was fucking inspired by that. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, as always, and we'll be back.